A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
An expose of another fraud similar to the bond scam. The tenure of the National Police Commission ends today. CID says certain parts of the phone conversations between Namal Kumara and DIG Nalaka de Silva have been destroyed. Laser technology to be used to conserve the Sigiriya frescoes. Opposition over Charit Kapukotua, who won the putt, discus and hammer throw events at the National Sports Festival.
And now the stories in detail. The National Fertilizer Secretariat says it has taken steps to distribute fertilizer required for the Maha season to all storage facilities in the island. The subject minister said the government has borne a cost of 33 billion rupees to purchase the fertilizer required.
Director General of the National Fertilizer Secretariat, Ajit Pushpakumara, said a bag of fertilizer used for paddy will be sold at a price of 500 rupees. Meanwhile, a bag of fertilizer used for supplementary crops will be sold at 1,500 rupees. A 50 kilogram fertilizer bag used when cultivating paddy fields will be sold at 3,000 rupees, while a 50 kilogram fertilizer bag used for cultivating supplementary crops will be sold at 2,000 rupees. It is expected that 800,000 hectares of land will be cultivated during the Maha season this year. It is also estimated that in order to meet demand, 245,000 metric tons of urea, 75,000 metric tons of MOP and 65,000 metric tons of TSP will be required. Meanwhile, speaking at an event held in Buttala yesterday, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira said the price hike of fertilizer in the global market will not affect the fertilizer subsidy. We have allocated 33,000 million rupees to be spent on fertilizer this year. We purchased fertilizer for a price between $300 and $335 US. However, now the price of fertilizer has increased to $370 US. Because of this, we would now have to spend around 40,000 million rupees instead of the predicted 33,000 million rupees. Even if the price of fertilizer increases further and we have to spend 50,000 million rupees, we will ensure, with the help of the national government headed by President Maithripala Sirisena, that we will come up with a plan to keep offering fertilizer between 500 and 1,500 rupees. For the first time in history, we will implement a national policy for agriculture before the next month. The Ministry of Agriculture has requested farmers to commence farming for the Maha season using rainwater. Following an inquiry made by us, the Ministry of Irrigation has said it will release water for farming starting from tomorrow.
The Ceylon Petroleum Trade Union Collective says that the government is once again planning to hand over the oil tanks in Trincomalee to the Indian Oil Company. They made this statement at a media briefing.
The government is planning again to give away the oil tank farm to IOC. The Prime Minister of this country gave us false promises. Subject Minister gave us false promises. UNP handed over the oil tank farm in 2003 to India on illegal grounds. What we have to ask is, on what basis is this government planning to give away this complex? We want to tell the government, if they try to make any decision regarding this cabinet memo, the petroleum trade unions will carry out a massive struggle against it.
We have incurred a loss of 1,500 million rupees for a year by giving the complex to India. Money goes out of the country. Now they say that all 14 tanks of the lower tank farm should be given to the IOC. That is how it is there in the cabinet decision. Other tanks would be given to a joint venture with the IOC CPC. These resources belong to us. We gave it away and we are requesting them for permission to use it. This will affect each petrol litre. Every month the price of it will get increased. If we feel that this is being destroyed, we will come onto the street.
Meanwhile, sales agents of Lanka IOC say, due to the fuel price formula, their sales have been affected. They request that the price regulation be handed over to the Consumer Affairs Authority. The people of this country have to go through this, because in certain areas we have only IOC filling stations. That is why we need government intervention. We need the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister and the President to look into this matter. We too are afraid like the consumers until the 10th day of this month. We request to make LP 9 92 and LED diesel essential goods and sell them at the same price.
We sell this for 6 rupees more to our customers. As a result, our business and consumers have been affected very badly.
Convening a media briefing, UPFA MP Chandima Virakodi expressed the following views.
I mentioned this before. There is a complicated governing structure in our country. If I was the minister, I would at no time allow the IOC to increase the prices the way they want. If that is being done, there is no point of a Minister of Petroleum Resource Development being in office. The IOC unloads oil in Trincomalee at low taxes. I produced a cabinet paper. If the taxes are imposed, that tax should be the same for the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, the IOC and the Colombo Harbour, the Trincomalee Harbour and the Hambantota Harbour. Even today, IOC unloads at lower costs. The CPC unloads in Colombo at a higher cost. The IOC sells at a higher price. The CPC sells at a lower price. What is this deal? We will reveal this to the people.
The Criminal Investigation Department said it will seek international assistance to investigate into the incident where certain parts of the telephone conversation said to have taken place between DIG Nalaka De Silva and the Director of the Anti-Corruption Movement Operations Namal Kumara have been damaged. A senior official of the department said this decision was reached as the technology in Sri Lanka is insufficient to carry out the investigations.
He revealed that the decision was taken following discussions with the government analyst. The official added that the country to which the investigation will be handed over to has not been decided yet. He added that the decision will be reached within the coming week. Allegations have been levelled against DIG Nalaka De Silva and Namal Kumara for conspiring to assassinate the head of state and the former Secretary of Defence Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The government's analyst's report on the telephone conversation recordings was handed over by the CID to Fort Magistrate Court on the 9th of this month. DIG Nalaka De Silva, who was in charge of the Terrorism Investigation Division, and the Director of the Anti-Corruption Movement Operations, Namal Kumara, were also barred from travelling overseas without prior approval from courts.
The Court of Appeal is scheduled to announce its decision on the 30th of November with regard to the large-scale fraud that have allegedly taken place by misusing tariff-free or better known as duty-free permits given to heads of organizations and state employees. The case was filed by Attorney-at-Law Nagananda Kodithuaku, who is a legislator on constitutional laws and also a social activist. He points out that a loss of more than 16 billion rupees was incurred by the customs due to this fraud pertaining to tariff-free car permits.
It is reported that a loss of about 12 billion rupees was incurred due to the central bank bond scam in 2015. The central bank bond scam is considered to be the biggest fraud in the history of Sri Lanka. However, Attorney-at-Law Nagananda Kodithuaku points out that a loss of more than 16 billion rupees was borne by the customs when importing tariff-free vehicles. The Sri Lankan agent has already paid the price of 1,675 luxury vehicles to the German manufacturer.
The same vehicle has two invoices with the same chassis number. The same invoice has two different prices. One invoice is sent by the original BMW company. The fraudulent invoice is from a different name. The original invoice states a price of $30,585 US. The fraudulent invoice carries an amount of $23,000 US. And the permit is less than 25,000. If the original invoice is presented to the customs, a tax will be imposed. When the customs here in Sri Lanka inquired from the customs in Germany, they said that these vehicles are from the original BMW AG. If these prices were showed to the customs, they will not be able to use these permits. Because if the price of the vehicle is higher than the permit becomes invalid. And therefore a tax should be paid. If the total loss of the 1,675 vehicles are calculated, the loss sums up to more than 16 billion.
What action has been taken by the customs with regard to these allegations?
Former Director General Chulananda Pereira and Operations Officer Saman De Silva are attempting to sweep this under the carpet. The current Director General of Customs, PM Charles, is requesting for a proper investigation to be conducted through this court order. The loss of 16 billion to the government should be recovered.
These vehicles have been imported to the country during the time period of 2012 to 2014.
Any businessman can do anything by bribing the customs. The BMW company has committed a fraud by not paying this money to the customs. If the customs is managed properly, Mangala Samaravira can easily cover 50 to 60% of the budget with that money. But Mangala and the team cannot do that.
Next up is our news segment, Developing Stories of the Week.
Today is the 16th day of the Satyagraha carried out by the area residents in Aruvakkalu against garbage being dumped in the area. The Satyagraha is being carried out in the Muvador area. There were several protests and marches organized in the Putlam district in support of the Satyagraha. It was reported last week that 3 companies had earned undue profits through selling sugar because they had sugar stocks when the new tax structure was imposed. To control this situation, the Consumer Affairs Authority imposed a maximum selling price of sugar. Thereby, the price of a kilogram unpacketed sugar should be sold at 100 rupees, and 1 kilogram of packeted sugar should be sold at 105 rupees. Last week, several newspapers reported the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division is probing a complaint which claimed MP Hirunika Premachandra had taken out 20 million rupees from the workers' welfare account of the contract company involved in the Maganaguma program and used it for political and other activities. This letter, dated the 17th of March 2016, addressed the Deputy General Manager of the contract company, was sent by a person named J.J. Vikramaratna, claiming to be the chairman of the Welfare Association of the Maganaguma Construction Company. According to the letter, a request has been made for an independent audit to be performed as issues has arisen with regard to the income and expenses of the Welfare Society Fund for the years 2014 and 2015. However, the letter does not mention the name of MP Hirunika Premachandra. The only time her name is mentioned is in the bills issued for a sum of 243,000 rupees to an event equipment supply company located in Navala Road, Rajagiriya during the said time period. It is questionable when claims are made that investigations are taking place over the siphoning of 20 million rupees. Though the bills claim the event equipment were ordered under the name of Hirunika Premachandra, there is no mention that she approved these transactions and her signature is not placed on any of the bills. However, an individual by the name of Prasanna Kumara Nisanka had signed and taken out a sum of 243,000 rupees from time to time from the Welfare Society Fund from the Maganaguma contract company. The documents even go on to show his national identity card number. The total sum issued for 7 invoices is calculated at 243,000 and not 20 million rupees as claimed by certain reports. What is the investigation carried out by the FCID on a sum of 243,000 rupees? As per the law of the country, such transactions are inquired by the Mediation Board. What evidence is present to claim that MP Hirunika Premachandra had in fact taken the money? Is this someone's attempt to destroy MP Hirunika Premachandra's future in politics? The tenure of the National Police Commission concludes today. As per Clause 41E of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, the current members of the Commission can hold their position until new members are appointed. The new appointments have to be carried out based on the recommendations of the Constitutional Council.
The World Bank has revised and downsized Sri Lanka's growth forecast for this year to 3.9%. It had previously said that the country's economy was to grow at 4.8% this year.
The World Bank further noted that Sri Lanka's economic growth is projected to recover from the effects of last year's weather disruptions, which affected agriculture, and will remain around 4% in the next 2 years. In its global economic prospects released last June, the World Bank pointed out that the Sri Lankan economy was bound to grow by 4.8% this year and then moderate to 4.5% during 2019 and 2020. However, the latest budget crunch issued by the South Asia Economic Focus pointed out that Sri Lanka's economic growth would accelerate to 3.9% this year and moderate to 4% during the next 2 years. Meanwhile, other South Asian countries like India had a projected percentage of 7.3 in June and remains the same. Nepal's projection has increased by 1.8 from 4.5 to 6.3, while Maldives' statistics have changed drastically from 5.5 to 8, as predicted in the reports by World Bank.
The ministers and officials come before the people and make statements about the economy of the country. While some of these statements are purposely made to deceive and mislead the public, the people now realize the truth. We as a country can comprehend where our economy is heading. There are many reasons as to why our economy is affected in this manner, and corruption and wastage plays a vital part in it. For example, one can question, why is there a need to pay local power suppliers in US dollars instead of Sri Lankan rupees? Why is the government allowing various parties to rob from the people in broad daylight? Irrelevant of the magnitude of the crime, whether it's the bond scam, the power crisis, or any other financial misappropriation, it is clear that the perpetrators should be arrested and put behind bars. If not, this trend will go on and our economy will continue to be burdened by the corruption and wastage.
The 15th Elia seminar organized by the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana was held in Migoda, Humagama yesterday under the auspices of former Secretary of Defence Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Several MPs representing the SLPP were also present at the event.
There is no question about the debt burden. They turned the country that was efficient to a barren land. That is how the good governance government will go down in history. It has come to a point where people cannot bear the burdens, and they are cursing all 225 of us. It is a time where they are making ad hoc decisions. Our Defence Secretary, of course, lacks political experience. I would like to point out that if Mahinda Rajapaksa cannot be a candidate for the next presidential election, it is Gotabaya Rajapaksa who is the next best person.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa pamanaya කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ මතක් කරන්න කැමතියි.
බන්දුල ගුණවර්ධන උත්තම කොහොම කිව්වද?
Even though Bandula says such things, many are questioning who will be nominated from the opposition. The UNP especially is facing a massive issue. However, it is they themselves who fail to even get their own leader to compete for the past two presidential elections who talk about the presidential election the most. We gave this government on the 8th of January 2015 a country which was free of narcotics and the underworld. However, within 4 years, it has changed dramatically. In some places, they changed the opening day of projects that we implemented and installed boards. Every project that you see, even at goal phase, was brought here by Mahinda Rajapaksa. One is the Akuragoda security complex. There is no way a security complex can incur losses. It is not a project meant to bring in profits. In the past, we gave the Shangri-La Corporation one piece of land and the India-based ITC company another plot of land. A third plot of land was given to Shangri-La by this government. From that, this government earned more than 75 billion rupees. From the funds received by us, we only used half. And when we handed the country over to the new government, there was over 19 billion rupees left. We still do not know what the incumbent government did with that money.
General Secretary of the United National Freedom Front, Maitri Gunaratne, says Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe should leave the UNP's party leadership before planning a party reform. He made this statement at a media briefing held in Galle today.
We said already that the UNP won't be restructured. Only one thing is needed for the restructuring of the UNP. What is that? The departure of Ranil Wickremesinghe by giving the leadership to someone else. There will be no restructuring if that does not happen. In the past, state ministers Range Bandara and Vasanta Senanayake were vociferous, but today they are all silent. When Ranil Wickremesinghe took over the party in 1994, he had 46% of the vote in the country. In the last local government election, it went down to 26%. There is no doubt that it will come down to 20% if there will be a provincial council election. Ranil Wickremesinghe is fully aware of this and does not want to hold a provincial council election.
He also expressed his views on the current economic situation of the country.
We need to defeat the budget and send this government home. This government is an unsuccessful government. It does not matter who comes into power next, but this government should go home. The oil prices go up day by day. The people of this country has to pay the price for this. What happens when the price goes up like this on a daily basis? Price of everything go up, starting from a kilo of rice and a kilo of vegetables. Therefore, in order to send this government home, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister We need to defeat this budget. How can this government provide relief to the people? How can they do that through this budget? They are in massive debt. They are not in a state to provide relief to the people. The government has fallen into a massive debt trap. They are disorganized. The exports have come down. The tea and rubber industries have also been destroyed. The pepper and cinnamon industries are facing a massive crisis. Even the coconut industry is in a state where we have had to import coconuts from other countries.
A new method to conserve and protect the frescoes and other valuable sites in Sigiriya were discussed at a media briefing held today at the Sigiriya Museum.
Throughout the years, Sigiriya has astounded travellers, both local and foreign. The importance of the frescoes are spread far and wide, and it is the earliest preserved art in Sri Lanka. Professor B.D. Nandasena stated that the University of Kelaniya, together with the Archaeology Department of the Bamberg University in Germany and the Central Cultural Fund, are working on a project to preserve the frescoes.
We are doing a laser 3D project through laser scanning. It is documented. Why are we doing this? If some harm comes to Sigiriya, that would be a huge loss to us. In the end, our database would be stronger. This is what will happen to the Sigiriya frescoes. This will be advantageous to us. Afterwards, we will be monitoring the paintings annually. Then we can keep track of the changes that are happening, understand the state it was in 2017, and identify that these cracks have developed and how much damage has happened. This will greatly aid in preservation. The aging population is growing. Disabled soldiers find it difficult to climb to the top of Sigiriya. Lots of tourists arrive. They visit the other places and leave. It is possible to give a 100% accurate replica. We can notice the very subtle things using this technology. If someone asks to see the Sigiri graffiti, we have to ask him to go to the mirror wall. But after the recording is done, there is no need to go to the mirror wall to see this. You can see these better through this technology than you could with your own eyes. There are valuable artifacts in Sri Lanka, starting with Sigiriya. After the specialists familiarize themselves with this technology, we can take steps to preserve and protect other historical locations as well.
The 139th model village, constructed under the Samata 7 housing project, was vested with the public today. The event was held under the auspices of Minister of Housing and Construction and Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajid Premadasa.
The model village constructed in the Karambavawa area in Lunugambehera has been named as Sandaliyagama. The village, which consists of 32 houses, has many infrastructure facilities including a supply of clean drinking water and access roads. In line with the program, land deeds were also distributed while loan facilities were granted to low-income families.
I saw the former president without shame saying before the media that Sajid Premadasa is distributing the land belonging to the Telisine village. The Telisine village is on the other side. A land bigger than 10,000 acres were allocated for the racing hobby of his dear sons. He spent millions to allocate 10,000 to entertain his son's racing hobby. Shouldn't providing land to the landless in the area be the first priority? Without a shame, the former president comes before the media and says that Sajid Premadasa makes houses the size of matchboxes. Therefore, I would like to invite the former president to come join in an inspection tour of one of these villages.
The inauguration ceremony of the new program Gamata Technology was held today at the Nelumpogana Theatre. Many, including business leaders and technology experts, attended the event. The event was organized by Road to Rights organization.
This event was organized by Road to Rights organization. The program was mainly introduced to strengthen and evaluate the skilled entrepreneurs and young leaders. This will pave ways to develop ideas of youngsters. Resources and assistance will be mainly provided by businessmen and other experts in the fields. The co-founder of Gunajaya Satuta Foundation, Kushili Gunasekara, founder of Good Market, Achala Samradivakara, and many more attended the event.
The annual sports meet of the Narikasan Montessori, organized by the Yoshida Foundation, was held in Ranpokunugama, Tambur today. The event was held under the auspices of President of the Sri Lanka Mahabodhi Society, Venerable Banagala Upatesatera.
The event was organized with the aim of improving sporting talents of the children. There were many events, including a drill display.
President R. Premadasa invited me to start schools all over the island, and he promised to provide the necessary land. On his invitation, I started 10 schools. When we started schools in 1979, the number of students who attended preschool was 5 out of 100. Thanks to President Premadasa's initiative, at present, all children attend preschool. However, it was only a few months ago that we got the legal rights for this. We got this from Minister Sajid Premadasa. There are more to come. It took close to 30 years for this, as there were government changes. I informed the chairman of the Maharaja Group, Kili Maharaja, about these developments, and he expressed his pleasure over it. He has been providing massive financial support for my work. He has helped me to continue this work.
Up next is a look at Action TV.
It is believed that a virus that originated from a foreign nation is the reason for the oranges in Bibile, which were endemic to Sri Lanka, to be destroyed. The foreign nations have developed the genetics of the oranges found in Bibile, and now our country has to import the excess quantities of their produce, spending millions of dollars. In this backdrop, the World Egg Day was celebrated last Friday in Bibile. As per a report issued by the Auditor General, one can be worried if the dairy industry in the country will suffer the same fate as the oranges in Bibile. The report was issued regarding a project carried out by the Ministry of Rural Economic Affairs to import pregnant dairy heifers into the country. This was not done by me, not during my tenure. The agreements have been reached by the Ministry of Finance and the cows have been distributed. These are cows that can produce more than 20 litres of milk. This cannot be done by the Appuhamis. This can only be produced by those who are involved in the trade. We hope to provide 5 cows to the Appuhamis as well. It is clear that by using the term Appuhami, the minister is referring to those who are not able to engage in the production of milk at a commercial level. The plan to provide 5 dairy heifers to the people who are unable to engage in the production of milk at a commercial level is contradictory to the initial plan of the project in question and would not achieve the desired results of this project. The project to import 20,000 dairy heifers was launched with a loan of $76 million from a bank in the Netherlands. 5,036 cows have been imported and have been distributed. The government bears 340,000 rupees and a cow is sold at a concessionary cost of 200,000 rupees. The minister also falls under the group that does not fall under the Appuhami specification. The rest who do not fall under the Appuhami specification have formed an association titled the Ceylon Cattle Farmers Association and have provided this report to the subject minister. They have in their report said that though the foresight for the production of milk as mentioned by the subject minister was 20 litres, these heifers can only produce 10. The report also says 95% of the cows are not suitable for commercial dairy production and should have been disqualified during cow selection. It should be reminded that this report is not one that was compiled by the so-called Appuhamis. It adds that 99% of these animals lack fertility and should be disposed from the farms. If a person is to buy one of these heifers at the concessionary cost, one should pay the complete price at once after fulfilling the relevant criteria. In a backdrop where the minister has also spent 10 million rupees at once to purchase 50 cows, the Director General in charge of the project has handed over 50 cows to this farm in Dolusbage on credit. When the farmer who owns this farm has written to the subject minister saying that he is unable to make the payment, it is understood that this project would only burden the country and not yield any results. In this context, it is wrong to put the people who the minister refers to as Appuhamis in harm's way. Former secretary of the ministry who had paid in advance to import 15,000 more heifers in this manner without approval, exercising an authority only the legislature of the country has not received any punishment. Is this because she is the wife of the secretary to the Prime Minister, secretary to the President? This is over to you.
Moving on to sports news now. The southern and western provinces have opposed the medals won by Charit Kapukotua in 3 events at the National Sports Festival. Charit Kapukotua took part in the sports festival following his return from the USA. He also holds the Sri Lankan record for the hammer throw and shot put events.
Charit Kapukotua, representing the Northwestern Province, clinched gold medals in the hammer throw, discus throw and shot put events at the 44th National Sports Festival, which concluded at the Polonnaruwa District Sports Complex earlier today. Later, Charit Kapukotua addressed the media in tears following several allegations levelled against him.
objection provinces strike
However, following an inquiry made by Sports First, the Director General of Sports said the results relating to the gold medal of the shot put event had been suspended as the required qualifications were not met. This is not the first time athletes residing overseas had taken part in the National Sports Festival or in any other national level meet. There is no legal barrier for athletes to take part in athletics, swimming, squash, weightlifting, bodybuilding, tennis and many other sports according to the sports law of Sri Lanka. Not only sports, Sri Lankans living abroad have taken part in modelling contests and Miss World contests on numerous occasions. Against this backdrop, why isn't an equal opportunity granted to Charit Kapukotua? Who is disrupting these athletes who dedicate their time and effort and spend a lot of money to represent their country and surely have the potential to win at both national and international levels? Minister of Sports, this is over to you.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.